What is going on, guys? Today we are back with a ranking of the defenders. We've got upgraded players, new players, and also new icons. To start with, we're going straight in. Zinchenko does have two versions. He has the 5-star skiller or the 5-star weak foot. Both are obviously the same stats throughout. I personally am a big fan of this card. I think he is exactly what the Prem's needed for a left back. Because obviously I go with the weak foot. The 5-star weak foot's always going to be more beneficial in my opinion. Unless I suppose if you are overlapping quite heavily with him and you know skills, it's not going to be a bad option. But I also think that the defenders, midfielders, the weak foot is going to be more beneficial in the long run over any sort of game style. Zinchenko, for me, in terms of a left back, has got to go top of the top. We're going to whack him as top as we can so we can get another one underneath. We then move on to Ure. For birthday, again, just more of a pack holder in my opinion. I think he's okay, but really, if I'm putting him in the category of everybody else, are you tired of using players like this? I would much rather have teams more like this. Then I recommend going over to skycoach.gg for all of your coaching and coins needs. They are cheap, fast, and reliable, but at the checkout, make sure you are using code JT11 for a discount on your orders. Back to the video. And in terms of what he kind of produces, I feel like he's standard and nothing else. He's going to be the first one in the A block for me. Nothing crazy, nothing special. Very much like Ben White, same stats to be honest nearly. 80, yeah, one more physical, one more dribbling. Like I say, in terms of these cards now, they are all practically just fodder holders if anything. We then have Wan-Bissaka, who to be honest again, is one of them ones that I think in terms of a right back is very bog standard now, but he still offers a good position in a right back. If we look at all the others as we go through, I feel like he's definitely one of the topper right backs. Maybe not necessarily top, but most definitely puts himself in a good position. Kyle Walker, nothing but absolute excellence from this lad. Obviously, his path to glory is absolutely elite and deserves nothing else than to be in the S category. Varane is exactly the same, to be honest. 88 rated winter wildcard. I imagine we will get a bigger upgrade of him soon. I don't personally think he's done enough for team of the season. I think they could argue it potential, but I personally don't think he's done enough compared to some of the absolute ballers we've had this year in the defence for obviously a lot of the other teams. So he's one of them ones that I think might come as maybe an extra option, or more than likely we will get at footies. We then have Vanderson, 88 rated right back. Again, very similar to be honest to Wan-Bissaka. We've got the pace up there. Obviously the defending a little bit lower, but only by 2. Has a good amount of physicality. I think he's a nice one. If he weren't an SBC, I think I'd probably go more A. But because obviously the price of him was grindable, you can obviously get him done quite cheaply once he was out. I think he's definitely sitting in that same sort of value. But I do believe, especially when we get team of the season, a lot of these players will be rendered completely obsolete, which hopefully they should be, because team of the season should be the big cards. As we get a very, very big card in Van Dijk, team of the year that is just... It's Virgil van Dijk. The 96 centre-back himself is absolutely elite. There is very little centre-backs, in my opinion, that are better than this card. We then move on to Upamecano. Again, another card that I think, for me, would do really well with a big upgrade. And if he can get all of the upgrades from this, we are looking at a top level centre back. He was always one of these ones, once we got a special top end special version of him, he is absolute top end in terms of a centre back. We then move on to Umtiti, who was an SBC. Standard again. It was nice that he could get upgraded. Whether he does is a big question, but I think he's sitting in a good centre back, but definitely not the top. Trimble next with his newly upgraded compared to last time we did this, 87 rated now. To be honest, in terms of right wing back, can't really argue with him. It's got the pace, pretty much standard to Vanderson and obviously Wan-Bissaka. Defending's good, physical's good, has a good amount of passing and dribbling. Can't argue one bit, but an A+ for him. Tomori, one of my favourite centre-backs this year, and praying he manages to get a team of the season or at least a 90+ Tomori, because that card will be top dollar. Very much like Varane for me, so he has got to again sit in the S, and a lot of these S's are coming out early doors today. We then have Timber, another cracking one between him and obviously his brother, as we see both of them. 88 rated and 89 between the two Timber brothers. Both of them very, very similar with obviously their rating and stats throughout. With these two, I think they've both easily got to put themselves in A+ again. Obviously, I think Timber, the Ajax version, is obviously a player you can buy, whereas the other Timber was an SBC. They may actually both be SBCs, but I think that's right. Tavernier, another one that came out during an SBC era, 87 rated, standard. Like I say, there is just a carbon copy between a lot of these fullbacks. They are very, very similar in a lot of their stats throughout, to be honest. Then we have Tagliafico, another cracking one that comes in really, really well on a Shapeshifter version with obviously that CDM in mind. Big upgraded to 90+. Shapeshifter's always one that I cannot wait to see because we get players moved. A Tau being the big one from a CDM, Trent being another one into centre mid. It's nice to see, and I think Tagliafico, same as like Acuna, could be really good in that middle. As for the card here, if I'm really being brutal for him, because I don't want to just go and put everybody in AS and it just doesn't seem like there's a gap, I'm going to go A for him, to be honest. With an upgrade, maybe. But for right now, I feel like he's under the right backs we've already put in. Then we move on to Sule. Again, another card that I think started off really well. He obviously had a good gold card, managed to get it wasn't a road to the knockout, but he managed to get another card prior to that. And then now we're kind of just seeing him lose focus, really. I feel like in terms of a kind of defender, I just don't think he's in it anymore. We then have John Stones as a showdown. Cracking card here. If obviously got a 90+, we're looking at a very, very top centre-back in terms of defensive ability. Pace-wise has never been the strong suit, but very much like a lot of the centre-backs that, especially like a Baresi, like a Bobby Moore, a little bit less pace for them, obviously, but in terms of actual defending, incredible. Tackling wise, perfect. So I think for right now, I'm going to sit in the A+ for him. But in general, I feel like that is kind of where he's going to go until he gets a massive, massive boost. We then have Spinazzola as the Flashback, another really good left wing back that we got as an SBC. Great pace. Obviously, the physicality took a little bit of a hit for him. We're not necessarily looking for an absolute monster 90 physical from our fullbacks, but it would have been nicer to get a little bit more of an upgrade on that. So he is going to sit in there with the standard fullbacks at the moment. Spence, very much a placeholder in my opinion. There is very little room for him personally in terms of just being anywhere. He's lucky he's A at this point. Then we move into Smalling, who honestly, if you've ever used Smalling, absolutely incredible in game. Good pace, defending physical, top dollar, and just an in general game style for him. Wonderful centre-back. Very much like Tomori, obviously same English, Serie A, the whole shebang, but I do think he is definitely worth his weight in, obviously, that S category. Same with Skriniar, very good defensive physical boost, but most definitely the pace is still a little bit lacking in my opinion. He's close to being an S if he managed to get, I'd say he'd have to get the full boost in my opinion, because we've now seen from these fantasy foots, it is just a +1. We could have probably guessed that, to be honest, but most definitely, if he does manage to get all of it, I think then we're looking at an absolute wonderful, wonderful Skriniar card. Thiago Silva, to be honest, lost it. In my opinion, I don't think he's it anymore. He's definitely behind the curve by a long, long shot. Then we move on to Luke Shaw, 86. And I want to say there is another version of him, but I cannot remember. Looking at the versions, I think he's got an 87, I want to say now. And I don't know why I haven't moved him. But if we're going 87 or 86, I still don't think he's necessarily it. I'm pretty sure. I wanted to know if the inform is a centre-back or that was the previous version he got. But I do think in general, he's just not quite there. I feel like he needs that big upgrade to a 90 to really put himself back into a spot where he could argue with a John Stones, a Wan-Bissaka as a fullback, or somebody like that. Ramos does a perfect job of that. Incredible flashback. Was really hoping that the New Year's packs, or the year... What is it called? The year in review pack, I think it is, the SBC. I was praying that I managed to get him, as I missed out on an absolute gem in Sergio Ramos. He is just still one of the greatest centre-back SBCs we're going to get. Schlotterbeck, Again, to be honest, very, very standard. Nothing crazy for him. I do think if he managed to get a big upgrade, he might be able to pull something back. Very much like the Foot Birthday Hummels has kind of pushed him back a little bit. But I do think, same with Sule, to be honest, both Dortmund centre-backs need that really big increase, in my opinion. We then have Davinson Sanchez. And again, one that from get-go, even that we're arguing about him, it's still very good that he was, a first month promo. He's not a bad card, but he's definitely behind a lot of the curve at this point now. But then we have Saliba. Saliba is exquisite. 90 rated now, still absolutely on the form, and I cannot wait to see him get potentially upgraded more because he is top draw. Same as Rudiger. Again, another one that I think really could do with an upgrade. Whether he gets team of the season, I've personally not been following La Liga, so I personally wouldn't know about centre-backs for them. Hopefully he does, because that could be the card. That is going to be 95, 96 if they were going to upgrade right. Would be absolutely sensational. And then we have Ruben Diaz as a 90, and the big increase on his pace for this card was absolutely outstanding. For me, I do think this card is top. Absolute top. Great defending, great physical. You go with a shadow on him, you get 90 pace. Job's a good one. 90 rated Diaz, always in the S. He's got to be. There is no other position for him. We then have Romero as the 89 centre-back for Spurs. Again, very similar, to be honest. You've got good pace. Obviously, one less than Ruben Diaz. Has a little bit less physicality. I think in-game he feels a little bit stiffer than most centre-backs. But I do think as he goes through and progresses, he would be a good top-end centre-back with a bigger increase, in my opinion. We then have Robertson as, again, not a bad left back, to be honest. I feel like he's very standard, good pace, defending physical. It's an overall good left back, but I'm not really screaming about for him. We then have PK, who, to be honest, again, like the rule breaker Davinson Sanchez, I think he's really putting himself in there. To say that he was, a first month promo, I can't really argue from him. I'm waiting for that end of era. Maybe we get it during La Liga team of the season. I'd like to think that is what they're waiting for personally, but it would be a nice card to see a big pace increase. But to be honest, defending physical only need to go up to 90, but he definitely is very much a Ramos flashback SBC-esque player. Nuno Mendes, shame that they obviously didn't get the upgrade, but most definitely still a good left back if you are looking for one. I just think it would have been so much better and definitely could have rivaled a Ferland Mendy if he did progress further. Montiel, first B category, most definitely. Very, very little to do now in-game. Unfortunately, just doesn't have it. We then have Molina, another great SBC you could have done during the showdown week of, if you ever want to remember the showdown week. Incredible right back, but I think in general, pretty standard if you are looking compared to everybody else. And then we have Miranda. I think with the 86 was very, very good. Double upgrade for him. Top draw left back, great pace, defending, dribbling, physicality and passing, all very, very nice. And I've definitely been seeing him a lot more Spanish kind of S teams, more La Liga if anything, with obviously the introduction of Hazard, a few decent Spanish upgrades as well as Vinny being Vinny. And I do think he's now pushed my mind up. I've saw a few people kind of mention him in the last ranking tier list, and most definitely puts himself on the map with obviously his counterpart Ferland Mendy. Incredible left back, very little to say about him other than if you've ever used a gold card of Ferland, you know exactly what we're talking about. Then we have Martinez. Again, one that I'm kind of half and half with, to be honest. I think he is a nice left back / centre back, but I definitely think this card needs an upgrade now. In terms of looking at the position of a left back, I'm going to have to go A with him. I really can't fight his battle anymore, especially when we do have Zinchenko coming in with some outstanding stats. Marquinhos, one that I am excited to see, but disappointed with the outcome. I like the centre-back, and all of last year, Marquinhos was the man. Team of the year, team of the season, we had multiple specials. This year he just feels like he's just not there. Some people may agree and disagree with me, and I do think defensively is absolutely solid, but I'm just not seeing the S category in him. Sometimes for me feels stocky. I don't really like his overall play very well, and it's been from the start, to be honest. I don't know if it's his game style for me. I'm just not a fan, and people may disagree with that one. I feel like that is very controversial for the rating that he is, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Then we go to Marquez, who, outstanding. If you've ever used this card, in terms of his normal heroes was good. I felt like it was a solid, very cheap centre-back. World Cup was very good. This card, if you just, despite the fact of MLS, just take him at the free chemistry style value, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding centre-back. So physical and so good at the defending aspect. Very much like Maldini. Was very, very shocked to see a FUT birthday icon Maldini. I really thought we might see a Footies Maldini, a team of the season, but the fact they've done him in FUT birthday, 5-star weak foot, absolutely insane. A 95 Maldini is exactly what we needed to try and rival your Virgils, your Militaos, obviously then your Ramoses and your Salibas. Incredible centre-back. Malacia, very, very nice indeed. For me, I think he is very, very close to an S category, but we are going to miss him out slightly, if I can change that. Malacia for me is a definite top AS, but I just can't put him anymore. I feel like he just needs that little bit more off a future star, and hopefully in the future he will do. This is the whole point of the future stars. They're almost a prediction to what they could actually be. Then we have, I don't know how to pronounce the name, Mahil. I know somebody's going to comment in a second. But again, another great right back. Very cheap, very affordable. 94 pace, 82, 86 on the defending physical. Good dribbling, passing solid. A solid right back. And I think for now, 100% going in the AS. Personally, for me, what he can actually do as a right wing back. Right back, obviously you might want a bit more defending, but you've got the chemistry to work with it. And then we have the king that is Lucio. Definitely wanted a fantasy FUT hero if I could have, but I will take a Serie A hero team of the season if they are going to do that, which I am praying that they do, because that could really blow this team of the season as the best team of the season. Imagine Prem team of the season icons, Prem team of the season, and Prem team of the season heroes. They could do it. They definitely could do it. So I'm praying. I'm putting a big pray on that one. We are at the closest to my camera as well, so that's perfect. And then we have Vasquez. Nothing really too special now, to be honest. I think a very standard sort of right back, if I'm being honest. Again, as a right back, I don't even really rate him too much. I like him as a right wing to some aspects, but most definitely just a fodder card at best. We then have Laporte, again standard centre-back, good pace, defending physical, looking good, but again, nothing really too crazy that's popping out for me right now. Same as Koyunde, another great centre-back at the start of the game, the 82 or 84? Or was he 83? I don't know. His gold card was a very nice starting centre-back, and then he's progressed, but he's not progressed enough to really warrant going anywhere above that S tier in my opinion. Kuladadi, incredible, 91. Cannot wait to see a footage version of him, as I don't think he's done enough for a team of the season. But what a card this man is. And again, it would have been nice if we could have gone on top. At least you can read the names. You know which ones it is. But we are going to try and reinvamp this for the next tier list, because I feel like it could just be spread that little bit better. But then we have Kunate. 87 rated, standard centre-back. Nothing too crazy, but we could see him in a good average sort of squad builder. Nothing crazy, like I say, in terms of your top end centre-backs. But most definitely, there is a lot worse that could be in that position. We then have Klanasach. I can't now. You know who I mean. Yeah, I thought I'd try that straight away. That didn't work. But he's an A+. We're going to swiftly move on from him, as I clearly cannot say his name very well. And then we go on to Kohler. Again, another great centre-back. I like this one. Very much like Marquez. Doesn't look incredible. Yes, I would say he definitely could do an upgrade if he was to go anywhere near that S category, as defending physical, incredible. Pace-wise, not too much. And then we have a brand new centre-back in obvious Coman. The thing with Coman for me is he is a wasted centre-back. 80 pace, standard. Centre-back pace, 100%. 81 dribbling, again, not crazy. 90 passing, 89 shooting, 91 dribbling, 87 physical. That is a CDM if I've ever seen one. Whack a Shadow, whack a Hunter, you have got yourself a cracking DM right there. Honestly, in a centre-back role, I've seen better. I've definitely seen better. I think in a centre-back, he's a standard A+. In a CDM, S all the way. Then we have Klosterman, again another card that I think could do with an upgrade, but he's a standard centre-back for obviously the Bundesliga at this moment in time with obviously 87 pace. Can't argue with him, I just think he could definitely do with another big upgrade for him. Kjaer, another nice one. Okay, they're pretty standard to be honest. Obviously in pace-wise, I feel like he is just lacking that little bit. They've gone up to 83, which is nice, but unfortunately it's not enough in my opinion to go to that AS, as I think in game very blocky still, and I think that is where personally you will find your Skriniars, your Marquinhoses, your Koundes. Personally, it's just a favour. Obviously then King, very similar to obviously a lot of these centre backs. Decent-ish pace, 91 defending, 85 physical, defends like an absolute monster, runs like an absolute truck, but in terms of what he can kind of do for you, it's got to be that AS for me. Yeah, that AS. Then we have got Kimpembe, another quality centre-back if you've ever seen one. Again, probably not going to get a team of the season, so it's going to have to wait until footies. We will see the name at the bottom there, but a wonderful centre-back if you've ever seen one. Kim Min-jae started off the year really well. Player of the month, very cheap, and in form, obviously a path to glory. Unfortunately, it has come to a halt there, and we are now due a big upgrade for him. Whether he gets team of the season, again with other leagues other than Prem, I can't really predict it too much as I don't know. Obviously with strikers I can see how many goals they've got, how many assists, all that jazz. With centre-backs, without actually watching, I wouldn't be able to tell you. So any of your Serie A lovers out there, let me know, are we going to see a team of the season Kim Min-jae? That would be incredible. And then we move on to Kenny. Pretty standard, to be honest. I don't really see him doing too much. He was a nice SBC, but now I think is more than enough fodder if you really wanted to. Kalulu coming up next as the 87 future star. Again, I rate this card so much. Good defending, good pace, great physicals, and obviously on the ball feels a little bit more looser than a lot of centre-backs, but I do think he is just missing out on that S just for now. And then we have a beautiful footballer. With the footballers, the one thing I don't get is, so with the dynamics, is everybody just wearing jackets? Is that what a baller is? Because Grealish has got a hat on. You've got Firpo in his beautiful Leeds jacket. You have, I think, was it Mount with a jacket on? Or I think he's got a training top on. Everybody's not wearing a kit. Is that what a footballer is established as? Again, I like this card practically because he was free to do. In terms of the upgrade for him, it's a good left back. I don't necessarily think he's top, but most definitely for a free card, great pace, obviously having that skill moves upgrade, I think he's nice. They've definitely done a good justice with the footballers, but I felt like it could be better if I'm picking real hairs with it. Jordi Alba, standard left back now. I don't think he's going to do too much. Very stiff on the ball. I don't think he's got enough defending physical, especially if I'm wanting him as a solid left back in my opinion. We then have the man of all many faces in Phil Jones. And I do think, again, I like this one, the fact that he was in, obviously, the small and SBC. You could get him as a one squad. It's not bad, but he is just going to be a pretty standard card now, if I'm being honest. Same as Jesus Navas, very standard. The right backs we've got, he's just not going to be in there, really. If we're being realistic, he's not in anybody's team anymore. Hummels, 90 rated FUT birthday. Really like this card. It's a nice upgrade for him. Puts him back on that map a little bit. I do think he's very static still. Very stiff on the ball. In terms of actual movement, not great. But he has got that defensive and physical ability if you can use him almost as a sweeper centre-back. Somebody who is just right at the back. He's not overcommitted. He gets in the tackle and he gets the ball away. That is how you work with Hummels. He's not a quick, agile centre-back to run in on a tackle, miss it, recover, miss it, recover. He's not that sort of centre-back. That is your Kimpembes, your Tomores, your Varans. That is what they can do. Hummels is a no-nonsense, Puyol-esque sort of run and hit them, get the ball, get it out. That is what Hummels for. And unfortunately, it doesn't pay well to play that in this game because more than likely you've got a team of the year, Prime R9, Mbappe, all of that jazz, just running at you, dribbling left, right and centre, and he's going to be sent to the shop if you are not very good at defending. We then have Hincapi. Oh god, this video is going to be brilliant. Then we obviously have him. 87 rated. I want to say it's Ecuadorian, I want to say. It's definitely not Colombia. I'm pretty sure that's Ecuador, if I remember my Valencia flag very rightly. 88 pace, standard, obviously an objective player. Is going as a standard an AS. It's got to be. With then Theo Hernandez as the Team of the Year left wing back or left back. Incredible. Absolutely love him. He is 100% one of the best left backs you can get on the game. And there is no doubt in my mind for that one. Then we have Enquiries. Oh God, we've got a few in a row here. Let's just settle him. We're going to put him in, obviously, the A just as a standard. Obviously, he's got a little bit about him, but I think he needed the upgrade, really, for me to put him anywhere else. Hakimi, still as standard as ever. He can go next to Hernandez, actually. Beautiful team of the year duo there, as you like, the fullbacks. And Gravadal, beautiful centre-back. If you've used him before, pace-wise is immaculate, defending physical, obviously has a bit of passing, nothing too crazy as a future star, but this guy potentially has a bright future if he carries on. Another centre-back with the future stars, not going to pronounce his name, but in terms of the centre-back, standard, good defending, physical. There's nothing really too crazy about him. Obviously the pace can be increased. I think at the moment he's definitely sitting in the AS, but I do think as we go forward, especially the next few weeks, a lot of these centre-backs, to be honest, will drop to the A, they'll drop to the B, and more than likely we just see a lot of fodder. We then have Frimpong, who again is not a bad card. I feel like the pace is great. It is now the defensive prowess that for me is just not hitting the spot. The pace can get you so far, but then you kind of need everything else. As a right wing back, overlapping might not be a terrible option, but I think as a centre back, as a right back, I just don't put him in the same category as some of these other right backs. Fofana with a lovely upgrade, again defending physical, looking brilliant with them 90 pluses, good pace. Obviously the passing could do with a bit of work, but it is being dragged down by obvious free kick accuracy, crossing, all of that jazz. But I definitely think AS is 100% the level, and then we can see where we can go in the Champions League. Emerson, 88 rated, another solid right back, to be honest, and this is the difference now between a Frimpong and obviously an Emerson. The pace maybe 6 under, but realistically with an anchor or anything like that, an extra 5 pace is going to put him within distance, and then having an extra bonus of nearly 90 defending and 92 physical, as well as still having the 85 dribbling and 82 passing, is the difference maker right here. Emerson 100% deserves that AS. Very, very close, I must admit, to the S category if it wasn't for a few standout right backs. Militao, again, standard as ever. Love him. Team of the year. Cannot argue one bit. Then we have Dumfries, who actually is a very surprising one in terms of an absolute beast of a right back. It's a shame we haven't had another upgrade since, obviously, the Team of the Tournament, but I do think if he does manage to find his way into an SBC in Team of the Season, or just Team of the Season himself, we're going to see a very nice Dumfries as we go through there. We then have Axel as an SBC. I think he was an SBC. Very standard in terms of centre-backs, to be honest. Good pace, defending physical, French, Ligue 1. You're never going to argue with it. I don't think he's necessarily S material, but most definitely a good SBC if you was doing that. We then have Dalot, who I rate very highly. I always put him in my budget right back. He's very good on the ball. Obviously, the whole stat package is top end, and the fact that he's cheap is just an extra bonus. And I think for me, he's always in that S category, if I'm being honest. We then have Di Lorenzo, another solid right back, to be honest. I do think with him, he is now becoming very standard in terms of them right backs. Like we said with Emerson, obviously with Dumfries, we've had a while back now. There is just a standard of fullbacks. They all have that. If we look at him in comparison to obviously a Wan-Bissaka, same pace, same dribbling, passing's a little bit better, defending's worse, physical's a little bit better. It all then comes down to the in-game. I do think Di Lorenzo still deserves his AS spot, but I definitely think over the next couple of weeks now, again, with the informs, they are very obsolete. It's only him who I'm clinging on to. Then we obviously got a new FUT birthday icon, Desai, an incredible card. If you've used Desai before, I really didn't expect Desai to get one. I thought maybe they might have missed him out and it could have been in some of the Team of the Season icon or something. If they obviously do it, it's a lot of speculation, but I'm praying that they do, as the idea is just what saves Team of the Season for them 6 to 7 weeks, in my opinion. But an S category, 100% of the time. Never argue with a Desai. He is magic. We then got DeMarcus as a fantasy foot. Again, very standard. To be honest, I'm not a massive fan of him. I feel like he is very bog standard. And in terms of a fullback, I feel like he's very stiff on the ball. And normally, if it was a centre-back, not a problem. If it was a centre-back with them stats, I'd be well happy. But as a right-back, I just don't see it anymore. I feel like he's very standard and just not in that AS category for me yet. We then have Delip still holding his position as a lovely centre-back in the game. Unfortunately, hasn't had an upgrade for quite some time now, but we could be seeing one hopefully very soon with anything going on in the Bundesliga. We then have Alphonso Davies, beautiful left back, never argue with him, always going into that S category. He just has the sauce as a left back, and he's a very consistent left back. Theo Furland, obviously, not Hakimi, Theo Furland, Davies. I thought there was one more. Cancelo, I suppose, was normally one of them, but the three there, the first of the list, have always been top from the very start. We then have Dani Alves. Again, I do think this card is slowly coming out of it now. To be honest, I don't even really rate putting him in. So we're just going to go whack him in B, and we'll slowly put him behind, because to be honest, we'll probably end up getting rid of him. Cuadrado, standard, right mid. Could do with an upgrade now. I feel like it's about time that we see another upgraded Cuadrado, especially seeing as though this one is a right mid. I want to see a 90 right back version. Take us back to the old days with Cuadrado, as he would be insane as ever. And then as sane as ever, Cordoba pops up. Never argue with a centre back. Outstanding. And hopefully we get a right back version of the Shapeshifter. We got what, a 97 last year. If he could be centre back as well, that is going to be the icing on the cake for him. Then have Carvalho as an 89 World Cup. Again, another one that probably could have really benefited. Maybe even off... Suppose he could have had a Real Madrid or Chelsea hero card for the fantasy foot. Did we get any Real Madrid ones? I'm trying to think if we did get any hero Real Madrid cards. We might have done, and I just can't think of them. But that would have been a really nice upgrade for him. But unfortunately, still sitting in nice and pretty here. But unfortunately, could have been upgraded if he did have that extra. Carvalho, for me, is a little bit standard now. I feel like he's dropping down into the A. Definitely could argue for either or, but I do think with the right backs I've got a lot more options. Capdevia, best left back in the game in my opinion. Just cannot argue with him. Insane left back, and funnily enough, coming straight after Cancelo as well. Cancelo, Team of the Year honourable, his highest version so far. Obviously in the Man City version, there is no upgrade for his Bayern yet. We've got a standard gold Bayern, but unfortunately nothing to really kind of state otherwise. But definitely an S still, even if it is a card that really is very unique in the game now, as obviously doesn't play with them anymore. It's still a very nice card you can get. We then have Bremer, another card that I think in terms of in-game is good, but he's slowly fallen off in my opinion now. We're slowly seeing players just get that better upgrade for him. So we're going to stick him in the slow A category. And then we have Banusi. Banusi is the easiest one I can do. Unfortunately, he just needs a bit more now. Rule Breakers was a long time ago, and a lot of the fodder cards there are just not worth it anymore. Very much like Bailly, to be honest. I feel like, again, when he came out, he was a cracking card. Arguably in S, but I do think now we've got a lot of centre-backs, and it's going to take a lot to really kind of step up to that mark. And unfortunately, he doesn't have that S quality anymore, but unfortunately, we'll sit in that AS. Bad shape. I'm not even going to pronounce it. Honestly, people need to just be called Dave. That would do. AS for him, and then we move on to Aspilicueta. Yeah, I could say that name. 87 Aspilicueta, unfortunately, again, is just not going to hit the mark, unfortunately. Again, a nice card, good defensive ability, but unfortunately doesn't hit the top marks anymore. We then go into the final few in Atal. I've seen this guy a lot more in CDM at the minute, with obviously his alternative position, but as a right back in general, a wonderful, wonderful card. And I'm hoping they can get another upgrade for him, as most definitely we're not finished with Atal just yet. Arejo as a future star, another cracking future star that they did a monster deal with. 90 rated, great defending physical. His gold card is elite, 83 rated, and most definitely doesn't disappoint in obviously this future star version. We then have Angelino with another good upgrade, 88 rated, looking pretty, but unfortunately he's not going to sit in that A, in that S for me, but he will poke his head around for obviously the AS, definitely. Amavi, standard right back again. I really can't say too much for him. He is going to go in the A. I do think that a lot of them players, to be honest, are just fodder builders, if anything, for the big boys. We then have Trent. Again, we have changed him because somebody said I didn't have the right stats. FIFA rosters, when I downloaded the card, for some reason have a different upgrade for him. So I don't know why he didn't have that 90 pace. But again, I've now put it, and I do think he is a standard in that position. Then we have Alex Telles, a great left back here. Very much like a Alexandra. So we'll pull both of these down here, as both of them came out within a matter of days of each other. And both of them are very similar. Brazilian left backs, La Liga, obviously Serie A. Pace-wise, Telles makes the win. Dribbling, Sandro. Shooting-wise, don't care. Passing, Alex Telles does the winner. Same defending, and obviously Sandro does the physical. Both very, very standard to each other, and I think are both wonderful left backs if you did manage to get them into your team. We are going to go with a standard AS for him, and I will remove the other one once Alaba puts himself into that AS, into that S, as the 91 rated centre-back is due that big upgrade. Acuna is another standard, and he's going to sit right where he wants to, and then we will move Telles, who I think is that version. We can put him into that AS as well. And that is going to be the list of all. If I can move my camera, would be nice and helpful. Move it all the way down there. I should have just put it down here to start with. We could have had loads more room. But that's going to be my tier list. I am going to move everything around a little bit. So obviously there's a bit more space. As obviously the B tier is I've kind of got rid of a few of them that are just not worth mentioning. And then obviously we have a bit more space for that AS category, as there is a lot of solid centre-backs, full-backs, all that jazz. But there is now starting to become a good heap of S categories as well. So let me know down below if you do agree with any of these or disagree. Always opinion-based. Let me know who's been your star defenders in this list. And make sure you check out the video on screen. But apart from that, make sure you like and subscribe. Peace.